We're having a conversation today about donor communications and some of the interesting things that we see in our work with nonprofits. Again, we've been in this business for 70 years collectively and have seen pretty much all of it out there. And I have to tell you, one of the big mistakes that many development directors make is they spend too much time sitting on the back of their laps in their office writing newsletters. Mm-hmm. Newsletters, publications, development communications in a variety of ways, they do have a very important role in development. But one of the concerns that I have is that most newsletters are just bad. Bradley, how would you react to that?
I agree 100%. There's nothing that drives me more insane than an organization who's mailing lots of newsletters that nobody can read and nobody would want to read because they have lots of pictures of people doing this in it, and it's just they're bad. And and I think newsletters or newsletter type, the purpose of a newsletter is not just to inform. I think the whole title of newsletter is bad because it assumes that the donor cares.
Yeah.
And I don't think the donors care a lot of the time because we haven't given them reason to care. And so I'm of the mindset, and I know I learned this from you, that we have to go to the donors, and the idea it's about them and what they've done and what they're doing through the organization, and you communicate that in a way that they can digest easily with fantastic pictures about, if it's the dog kennel, the puppy that needs to be taken home, if it's orphan care, it's about that kid that needs to be rescued, and to use powerful photography, which takes an investment of time and energy, and copy that goes to the heart, that says you are doing this, you are changing this life, you are making this happen, and just drawing that person in and making them feel, wow, I'm part of this, I'm doing something. And that's a total juxtaposition of what the whole idea of a traditional newsletter is.
I think sometimes we lose sight of the fact that the average reader is only going to spend anywhere from 10 to 15 seconds with this thing that we have crafted in our office all day and all night.
Right.
And we have to realize that their interest in what we write is often different than our interest in communicating certain things to them. And it becomes a real dance. Most organizations, their newsletter is more an ego document than it is being donor-centric.
Oh, and the favorite column from the president's pen,
right,
or from the office of the president, least read part of any kind of donor publication.
Always.
People don't.
Always.
They just don't care.
Well, and the assumption that we can train in a newsletter too, when
right,
someone's only spending 13 seconds on it, is just a fallacious assumption.
Talk to me for a moment about frequency. Donor communications, most organizations, they might put out a quarterly newsletter. Is that enough?
I was taught that the bare minimum is a quarterly. My own bias is that if you're really in touch with your donors, you ought to be mailing it anywhere from 6 to 12 times a year. If you have some of the things that Bradley's talked about, if you have great pictures, if you have a writer who can really write advertising copywriting. Most organizations have an English major who's doing the copywriting, and therefore are losing, I think, a lot of donor-centric headlines, great pictures, great cut lines under the pictures. You can't violate all the rules and expect people will read your piece.
Right.
Well, let me say one other thing here, too, that many newsletters don't have a fundraising bias to them. They're sharing information, but they're not inspiring or motivating people to get involved financially. And the sad reality is that many of them don't even include a reply envelope or a reply device of any kind. They send out information only and expect somehow for that to return financial contributions to them. And it's something that you need to consider. Take a look at your newsletter strategy. Do you include an envelope? Do you have a reason in there for someone to make a contribution to you? The reality is that we expect newsletters to do too much on their own. It takes a lot of work to make a newsletter or a publication of some kind really produce results for us. And I think that's one of the things that you need to consider as a part of your strategy as well. Evaluate that newsletter from the reader's point of view, not from the president's point of view or from your board or from your staff or anything else. Look at it as a reader who does not live within your organization's four walls day after day after day and really know what's going on. Are you communicating with purpose? Are you communicating with power? Are you communicating with passion? And are you giving people a reason to be involved, a reason to respond? I think that's one of the things that can really make a difference in your communications program.
Absolutely.
If you'd like to know more about communications, especially donor-oriented communications, be sure you look at the information on our website, fundraisingsuccessteam.com. That's fundraisingsuccessteam.com. We have a lot of information there, some white papers and special reports on making donor communications work for your organization and helping you achieve success as a development professional.
Dude, we